Hey again, everyone, and welcome back to the channel for the next installment in our weekly news update series. So, for those of you who haven't seen this before, I basically just go through this week's six skill news. It's funny because last week I kind of started off the show by saying what I felt, which was things had slowed down pretty significantly, right? After that August kind of insanity with Hot Toys and with other companies. And today, we're gonna go over a ton of things, right? And I'm gonna try to keep this short again. I know this can get long, so I'm gonna start jumping right into things. But just to kind of set the stage for everything, Hot Toys went crazy at the start of the week. They continued that through the week. There was one third party announcement that I was pretty excited about, and then in our showing signs of life, not that they haven't been, but we'll touch base on it when we get there. And then Jazz Inc. announcing that the Catwoman figure is going up for pre-order on October 17th, I believe. So we'll get onto all of that. But yeah, there's a lot, right? It went from things feeling just manageable in the six scale community to Hot Toys just dropping a lot on us. So, this is kind of my opportunity to give you my thoughts on some of these things. Um, Primarily just releases and announcements. I don't think there's any news stories other than again the Inart and the Jazz Inc. We're gonna kind of stay away from the Jazz Inc. drama at this point. It is what it is, and I think if you've been familiar with the community, at this point, it's pretty much set and done. There is a little bit of drama with the Inart stuff, but again, we'll focus a little bit more on the figures. But let's start with the insanity that was Hot Toys. And I say insanity because look, a lot of these releases, and they are timed, I think, with an event going on with Secret Base. I think it's an anniversary event. So as of this video being posted, these are not up for pre-order on Sideshow yet, but they are on the reservation list, on the RSVP list. So this was surprising to me. We obviously got the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man 2 figure from No Way Home, and it was from No Way Home, but it was pretty much um, just branded as the Amazing Spider-Man 2. So I'm sure there was some licensing reason for why that was done. The base, right, the lizard base was branded No Way Home, and that one came with the extra accessory, the bottle accessory for him. So of all the sets, that was the one that you had to kind of piece together yourself. So I thought that was set and done, right? I did have issues with that figure. It was kind of disappointing in terms of posability. I didn't like the neck joint. I know why they did it, why Hot Toys went with that neck joint, to allow the cowl to seem a little bit more seamless on the neck, but it's just can't really pose it up. So I think this is going to be a little bit of the same, but the surprise here is that they even went back to the Amazing Spider-Man, right? This figure came out a long time ago, the original, and they did release a comparison shot. But look, they're obviously making it's a 2.0, even though they're not calling it a 2.0. New head sculpt. I always did think it was funny that he's got so much hair, because it just seems strange if you go back to the mask, right? That all that is compressed under the mask. It seems like that's movie magic for you, right? It seems like this would be a little get in the way a little bit, right? So, but look, amazing sculpt. I think compared to the No Way Home sculpt or to the Amazing Spider-Man that we just got, this is definitely an improvement. I like the battle damage. With the neck adapter piece, I'm curious if this is going to fit onto the new the Amazing Spider-Man 2 figure. Although again, with the upsize scale that this figure has, it may look a little bizarre. So just something to keep in mind. Not sure that that's exactly um, something that's going to work out, but it's worth trying. I like the accessory, the camera itself with the clicker. I think all that is pretty awesome. I always like when you get the backpacks with them. Again, the detail on the sculpts, and Hot Toys has just been doing a really great job with the sculpt work. We're going to get into the diorama base because this is coming in two versions, a deluxe and a standard. But look at the posability you're getting here. You're getting some of those webs that have gone away from the classic series that we've gotten. Now, in the special edition, so this is not part of the deluxe, it is a special edition. You do get these darker um, lenses, and you do get an additional flash for the camera. That's fine, right? The flash I can live without, but the lenses I think are pretty cool because it does give the figure a little bit. something a little bit different other than the classic, and I'm trying to get to it, other than the gold looking lenses, right, that we were getting with this movie. But going back again, posability, pretty phenomenal, right? I like the look of the suit. It This looks like it's a fabric with kind of a not a mesh, but, just some pattern work on it. So I think that's going to allow the figure to be a lot more flexible, and it does have that kind of more rubberized, paneling for the red portions of the suit. I do think that's gonna help with posability a lot. So I love the details. I like that it's different from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 version. Again, I even the boots, right, have a little bit more detail. So I very surprising that Hot Toys went back to do this. And I'll give you my thoughts at the end, on what Hot Toys is doing here, but I kind of feel like this is a Hot Toys flex to a degree, right? This is Hot Toys basically saying nothing is out of their realm. We don't know what to expect. We think we know what to expect from Hot Toys. I've made that mistake too, assuming we're gonna get from this movie, we're not gonna get from this, and then Hot Toys will turn around and surprise you. So this is one of those surprises, but I think it's also them just telling us, right? And this isn't conspiracy theory, but I think it's just them letting us know that, look, w we should expect some surprises, and I think if this is the trend, we're gonna be in for a couple more surprises, which I'm excited for, right? I'd love we saw the T-800, we saw the Batman Returns figure, now the Amazing Spider-Man, so, it does look like Hot Toys is going back to some of their older releases, and there are definitely some great figures there that I would love to see a 2.0 of. So, very excited to see what's coming with that. Now, as part of the deluxe, you do get this antenna. Very cool looking. It's got the light up feature. It's supposed to be a pulsating light, just like an FAA, light on these tall buildings, so that planes can see what's going on. What is interesting, I do think the space is new, but looking at this, and I used to own the original Luke Skywalker 2-pack, the Bespin Luke, PX. This feels like I think it's that antenna just flipped over, right? These features, I think we're just getting a repeat of that. But Hot Toys is known to do this, right? They're known to reuse parts where possible. I do think it's interesting that they repurposed it here. I think it looks good, but it does look like a reused part. Um, and it does help the figure pose well, right? I see the flexible stand behind it, but I think you could definitely get some great poses and some poses here, which is great. Um, Figure, I think, looks fantastic. I don't think there's anything to really complain about, and I do like these features, right? I like the backpack, and I like the skateboard. We're gonna look at that too. The skateboard looks great, right? It has all the scuffed up details at the bottom. Even the backpack looks a little scuffed up. The fact that you can put this on him, um, is really gonna give you some great, pose ability kind of things, right? And this is why I do like this, display stand. Obviously, it gives you a little extra, that you can display it with him with. It will take up space, and I think that's the one concern I have with all these great diorama pieces is they're gonna start eating up display space. Not that I have any at this point, right, but hopefully soon. And, it's just it's great to have, but I can see people not needing that, which is why it's great that Hot Toys is giving us the standard releases, right? So with this exclusive, you're getting that base. That's pretty much it. And then with the bonus accessory, you are getting this. So I'm guessing this is either going to be on Sideshow, a timed exclusive, or special edition. I don't know when it is that they decide to make timed exclusives versus not, but just be prepared to kind of pre-order this when it goes up. And again, here, right, you are seeing some of the pictures where you see the difference. So you're looking at the original MMS 179. So similar suit material, right, with the fabric, a little bit more detail here, and obviously the scale is just what changes, right? The proportions are bigger, looks a little bit more realistic. Even the sculpt, I don't know that it's different, the head size, but it just looks a little bit more natural on the body. So I think that's a pretty good improvement. Again, subtle differences in the detail suit, right, of the suit and in the proportion of the body that I think are definitely going to improve this. Even the boots in particular, you can see definitely some big differences there. If you have the original, I know the original is a little is way outdated at this point in time. Uh, so if you want an upgrade, this seems like a great opportunity. I actually passed on this the first, and it was when I think I was in this, kick where I was only gonna get MCU figures. Um, things were changing, collections change and evolve, and your thought process changes a little bit, I think, sometimes. So I passed on the original. I'm glad I did because now this makes the decision easy for me to pick up this second one. Especially with the fact that the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was in Spider-Man: No Way Home. That multiverse opened up the possibilities where it's almost like, yeah, these figures are part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so why not, why not incorporate them into the collection at that point, right? Um, they're actually gonna fit in. So, very exciting for that one, but that wasn't the only one we got. We also got, let me pull up the next one if I can find it. Let's start with, let's start with this one, the Predator. So, this is another surprise. This was something that I did not expect Hot Toys to do. So, if you've been collecting Hot Toys from, I don't wanna say from the beginning, but from their early periods of time, you know that before they got into Marvel, before they got into Star Wars, one of the biggest licenses they had was Predator, right? And we're not even talking about the original. We're talking Predator, Predator 2, Aliens versus Predator. Um, did they have AVP2? They had AVP2 because they did the Predalien, and we even got some, aliens from that. We got the Wolf, Predator. So Hot Toys was very deep in that, and one of their exclusive, you know how now we get, color variant Iron Man figures or different troopers that are special editions. There was a time when the special editions that we would get from conventions would be a lost Predator from that clan that shows up at the end of Predator 2. So basically, just to set the stage, Hot Toys was deep in this line, and I was collecting a lot of the Predators from Predator, Predator 2. Um, didn't collect, no, I have, the Elder Predator from AVP, the set that you actually have to assemble, and it's still disassembled. I haven't put it together. Um, Granted, that is very dated, and that goes back to when doing kits and the like. But when these licenses were coming out, I remember, I was going for the cinematic version, and they released this version, right, which was this, Samurai Predator. Um, Very unique, very interesting, right? It's still, and before we just jump into the history, it's pretty much identical. There are updates here, color updates. Obviously, the helmet is a big update too that you're seeing, but it was very similar. I think even the base is the same. So this is a repeat, right? And with some additional features. But when this came out, I remember thinking, even though it was licensed as part of AVP, it wasn't really part of the cinematic. It was an artistic release, right? And you can even see the logo there. It looked great. Don't get me wrong, it looks stunning, and I remember when it shipped, it even came in this really ornate box. So if you are a box collector, that was something that really stood out. I'm guessing this is gonna be a very similar release in terms of box structure, and I'm also guessing this is gonna be probably ready to go soon because it is identical pretty much. You're getting the big difference is you're getting the red, suit here, right? The red armored plating, and you get a slightly different mask, right? You have some swappable elements. It's great. It's beautiful. This is one of those figures that I regretted passing on, not because it was, even though it wasn't part of the movies, it was so unique, right, and so interesting, and I think anybody that has this, if you ask them, it's still a figure that stands out, right, and in a Predator collection, especially now with Hot Toys going back, right, and teasing another Predator from the original movie, getting the Predator from Prey, um, it seems like again, right, Hot Toys is going back to that well and revisiting some of those older classics. So this is one of those older classics. Let's talk about it, right? What you're seeing here right now is this kind of crest and with the different helmet that has kind of the stippling throughout. That wasn't something that came with the original. So you're getting it as a special edition exclusive. Now, Sideshow has put the RSVP up for this too, but they haven't shown this helmet. I have a feeling this is gonna still come from Sideshow, probably as a timed exclusive, or hopefully not the Q system, but we'll see. Rumor was this was limited to about 500 in Hong Kong, but I'm gonna try to get this regardless, right? And look, the helmet is great, but even the exposed sculpt, right, with the open mandibles, there's a lot of personality to this figure and this version of Predator that, um, sets it apart from the other ones we've got, right? And even the display stand, right, with the xenomorph that's kind of been defeated with the head cut off and him holding it from the tongue, the open mandible tongue. Pretty great, right? Even the detail on the sword, I don't recall, and so if you have this, let me know. I don't recall if the original had this kind of effect piece on the blade where you kind of see the acid dripping off of it, but pretty cool notwithstanding, right? This display base is big, it's ornate, it's very interesting. So I think it's gonna add to any display you have, and I think the color pop, the details with all the different swords, very, very, interesting. Plus, even the shoulder cannon that he has is molded in that style. So, artistically, very great release. It may not be something that you're looking for if you wanna stick to just purely cinematic versions of the Predator, but, um, it looks good, and I don't think even if you're not interested, I don't know that you can deny that it looks good. Now, the samurai sword looks like it's real metal, and again, you're seeing that one that's that version that he's holding that seems like it's almost falling apart because of the acid corrosion, and this base is awesome, right? You've got a defeated xenomorph, and he's even holding that headpiece, so, um, I'm sure that's gonna look stunning, and if you have predators, other predators, or, alien figures, it's a piece that I think you could fit into that. But I get it if you're looking to pass on it. For me, it's another opportunity to get it. And again, it's Hot Toys going back and doing something unexpected. While it's just a straight repaint with some extra features, namely the helmet, right? Um, it is something that I think Hot Toys really continues to set that stage, like they did with the Amazing Spider-Man, that nothing is out of the realm of possibility with them, right? And I think they're such a behemoth of a company at this point that it shouldn't come as any surprise that they can pretty much go back and do some of these things. Um, but now we're gonna get to the so we have two releases there that I'm excited for that I'm definitely gonna try to get, right? So um, it's not to undermine those or say that those aren't good. But there was one that really surprised me that I don't think any of us saw coming, and that's this Doctor Doom. Look, the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe is awesome. I think a lot of people are excited about it. I know some people have some trepidation about the whole thing, um, but I'm excited about it. It's a great return of an actor who really helped launch this, right, to what is it now, 12, 13 years of stories. Even if, we have mixed feelings about what's currently going on with the MCU, you can't deny RDJ's, you know, impact to this MCU world and the impact that the MCU in general has had to, um, everything else, right? DC tried to and failed to emulate the MCU. Look, Ballerina, the new John Wick spinoff, we're getting a John Wick spinoff with some introduction. We're starting to get an expansion of that world, so the concept of cinematic universe, while not something new, I'm gonna give credit to Michael Bay. If you guys remember The Rock and Armageddon, they shared the same president, so those 2 take place in the same cinematic universe. I think even Blade Runner, Alien, and obviously Predator were sharing with, Weyland-Yutani. So, again, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but the point is, when Robert Downey Jr.'s return was announced as Doctor Doom, I don't think any of us had any doubt that we were gonna get a Doctor Doom from Hot Toys from that Avengers movie from Doomsday. And if he showed up before that, which I think the rumor is he may show up in Fantastic Four, um, rightfully so, as he's their primary villain, right? But I would have expected something maybe from that. But instead, what we're getting is this comic version Doctor Doom. But Hot Toys did something interesting here. So as we go through the pictures, I'm gonna start pointing some things out. And while we look at the space picture, the magical effect pieces, they're very much replicas of or very similar to the Doctor Strange cinematic magical effect pieces, like the glyphs and the plates and the like. So just keep that in mind, right? It seems like they're like Hot Toys is leaning into that cinematic experience. And now we've also seen comic suits, right? We've seen them do comic origins Iron Man figure, right? They're now doing the Hono line, which is very much leaning into that comic aspect. So the fact that they're making this not part of the Hono line, right, and also not part of the origins line is interesting. And somebody had mentioned something, I forgot who it was, but somebody had mentioned that they wish the green was much brighter and much more um, comic accurate. I think the reason they went muted is because this is a figure that is leaning much more into the realistic portion, right? The origin suits for Iron Man, even the unmasked sculpt, was definitely a little bit more animated and cartoonish. The feel I get when I look at this figure is it's much more realistic, and I feel like Hot Toys did that for a reason. I think that Hot Toys thought to themselves, someone like me who might pass on a Marvel Comics Doctor Doom because it doesn't fit in the collection, might jump at something like this because this figure to me, I can put it in with the Marvel figures, right? The cinematic figures. I can put this next to Doctor Strange. He's gonna belong. He's gonna look like he belongs, right? Um, so that's a key aspect, and even the effect pieces, right? This is something it's a little more innate than what we saw seen with Wanda, but that's pretty much what you're getting. But look at the detail work, right? The chainmail undersuit, the the chains holding the cape. The cape seems to be wired. Um, even the crest for the flags, right? The pole for the flags with the nice gold kind of chrome finish. There's so much detail here, and you are getting multiple face styles. So you're getting this one mask that seems a little more rustic and assembled, and then you get this one that has a lot of facial features to it. This figure, this sculpt in particular, exposing the eyes that also have a rolling function, very cool and very menacing, which is what I think goes along with Doctor Doom. I also think so we were talking about this on, I was on, Fab Figures, stream with, Fab, shout out to him. Uh, we were talking about the Darkhold that he comes with, and I was saying, this looks very much like the cinematic, and we were having a discussion about how the one in WandaVision and the one in Doctor Strange has more of, distraught look to it, right, with some elements at the top. But if you look carefully, and again, doesn't mean anything, these particular, um, details on the surface of the cover are identical, right? So if you go back and look at the versions we got with Wanda, they're similar. So I don't think Hot Toys knows something that we don't, right? I don't think this is gonna be a surprise. Here's the first look at the RDJ Doctor Doom, but I think Hot Toys was leaning heavily into a lot of those cinematic, realistic pieces that they've already done. So part of it is they don't necessarily wanna redo some of these, but I think by doing this, they're creating a space that fits in, and it looks awesome. Same thing with the magical effect pieces, the armor. The base is something we're seeing with the Batman Returns figure. I don't mind it. I think it fits this figure perfectly well, and if Hot Toys wants to reuse it, so be it, right? But I don't think it detracts from this at all. Now, you do get this other, helmet for the special edition face mask. So you get 3 face masks in total. Frankly, I like all 3. I think they all look great. Um, this one looks a little bit, again, more leaning towards that comic accurate look, perhaps, but I just feel like the one that looks menacing with the actual facial features just looks great. And even here, you're getting the what is it? The Darth Sidious, the Palpatine, Emperor Palpatine lightning effects. So there's reuse of parts here. I'm not saying that there isn't, but it just goes so well. And this crest, right? That this Doom flag, um, it's just it adds something there, and I don't think it's gonna take up that much space, to be honest, but it just gives him a feel of, royalty, which he is, right? He is, the ruler of, oh my god, I forget where he's from. That's terrible, right? What kind of a Marvel fan am I? But look, this was a surprising one to me, and something like this pose, there's not much to this figure, right? The figure itself looks great, right? You do get some nice accessories. You even get the pistol, right, for his holster, um, which looks like, one of those old style German pistols, so very cool. Um, there are some great display options. It's a figure that I don't think any of us were expecting, and that's the key to me. This was a total surprise, a very welcome surprise, and I'm interested to see this is the one I wanna buy, right? And nobody Hot Toys hasn't even put this one up for RSVP or Sideshow at this point, and I don't know what the holdup is, but I want this. This is one that's gonna fit in perfectly well with the MCU collection, and even if you're a comic collector, right, you've got a comic version now, but this is this just screams realism to me. I think that's why Hot Toys weren't realistic, right? They decided to try to give us a little something extra that fits in the collection. Not die cast, these are just chrome plastic parts, right, painted with a nice metallic finish. This is the highlight for me of the release. Um, Unexpected, especially with Hono. With Hono, I would have thought that and we may still get a Doctor Doom that's a little bit more comic accurate with the Hono one, it's a little cheaper. This, though, it is one of those just with, like, the other 2, right? While the Alien vs. Predator, Samurai Predator is a repaint, and the Amazing Spider-Man is a 2.0 that does reuse parts, this also reuses parts, but it's a figure that I don't think any of us expected, at least not yet, right? I think we knew it was gonna come from the Avengers movie, from Doomsday, but we didn't expect it at this point in time. And for me, with the multiverse aspect, you could probably have multiple versions of Doctor Doom and not blink an eye at this point, right? And now the special editions are the additional face mask and the Darkhold. Even the pages on the Darkhold, you can barely see them here, but it's pretty much I'm sure this is gonna be a redo of the WandaVision and the one that we got with Doctor Strange and Wanda from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So reuse of elements here still doesn't detract from how cool this figure looks. Like, this is the highlight for me, and I am curious if this is gonna be another one-off or if Hot Toys is gonna start venturing into trying to create more realistic figures, because then I'm in trouble. Because then the argument that I've had for a long time, which is, "Listen, this figure" it's the argument with the Ono line, right? I like them, they look fine, they're definitely cheaper, but they don't fit in with the collection anymore. But if Hot Toys were to start doing their own interpretation of comic figures that are catered and designed to fit in with a cinematic Marvel Universe collection, the sky's the limit, right? It really is at that point, and I would be hard pressed to pass on some of those releases. So this was definitely the highlight for me in terms of the releases from Hot Toys at least. Because there is one other highlight that I'm going to talk about briefly, but let's keep things going because that wasn't it, right? Hot Toys also had another announcement for you Star Wars fans, which was this Death Trooper from the Star Wars Ahsoka show. Let me start by saying this was exclusive, went up on pre-order, it's already on waitlist. So, I have seen other, sources say that they can get them to you, so there are still places you can get it. Now this was teased at one of the, I think it was at Sideshow Con, um, and I think because it went dormant and the Ahsoka line seemed to have kind of ended, a lot of people assumed this wasn't coming out, but Hot Toys is saying, "Nope, coming out as an exclusive." I think it was limited to 2,000. I personally think it looks pretty cool, right? I think the kind of cracked armor with gold, um, elements to it definitely gives it a little highlight. I like the red wrapping, right? If you saw the show, there's just a visual pop to that. And now the zombie look and this is something that's funny because, I've made a couple of great friends in the community, and the conversation was so out there. Some of us love this piece, some of us were just like, "Absolutely not. What is this zombie nonsense?" Right? So, um, definitely an interesting response because I think the figure looks cool, but there have definitely been some issues with it or some, very strong reactions to it. I think the figure looks great, right? I think the fact that you're getting something a little more horror element, and even the inside of the mask and the helmet, right? The fact that you can see some of those details, it's very interesting, right? Very intriguing. Again, the detail work on the helmet with these panelized cracks in the armor and gold. Um, if you saw the show, it makes sense. I know not everybody was a fan of the show, but this was an interesting release. Again, already on waitlist. Now, for myself, while I liked it, um, I ended up getting one, but I got one for a friend. So, just helping somebody out because these were limited to 1 per person, and, look, if I collected Troopers, I'd probably be a little bit more inclined, but, um, I am collecting the Ahsoka line to a degree, right? I'm not being a completist with it because there's a lot. Um, it's a great looking figure, but you've got this, and then you've got The Amazing Spider-Man that still is not up for pre-order. You've got that AVP Samurai Predator, which I need more at this point, and you've got that Doctor Doom. So those are 3 figures that have special edition limited pieces potentially, right? That I am gonna they're pro I my guess they're gonna be on time pre-order. So when you look at that, there are 3 figures there that I wanna get much more than another, trooper at this point. So, look, it's great if you're a Star Wars fan and you like this version, again, notwithstanding the potential conflicts that you have or the fact that you don't like the zombie, which I can get, right? Goes with the show, maybe not with Star Wars overall. It's an interesting departure. But a great release, and again, Hot Toys continuing to drop the hammer. This is 4 announcements in 1 week, right? And all of them exclusives at this point. Um, so it's almost like, all right, we were talking about how it felt like Hot Toys eased off the gas a little bit, and now it looks like they're definitely going back into it. But we'll see if that continues on to next week. Um, and that wasn't it though. We also got a release, which it feels like we haven't gotten one in a while. Now this was interesting. This is Wasp from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. The Kang figure dropped with no blogger pictures. It just got announced. Um, Again, there's controversy behind the actor. So was it surprising? Maybe not, right? I was even surprised that Hot Toys proceeded to release that figure. I'm very glad that they did because it's Kang and it's a cinematic version of Kang. I got that great figure, right? I didn't think the unmasked sculpt was good, to be honest. So now they dropped Wasp from the same movie. What's interesting here is usually you get a slew of blogger pictures, right? I think you do get in the 20s, 30s, um, especially for some other releases, you might even get more. This was limited to like 19 pieces and 19 picks. And, there's nothing wrong with the figure. With the suit, right? Going back here, I always like the texture element. It's a little brighter, I think, than the one from just Ant-Man and the Wasp. The helmet looks interesting. The wings on this one, I don't recall if they're the same style or if the ones from, the previous movie were a little bit different. I'd have to go back and look at mine. I like the suit, right? I'm gonna try to get this one. I did not pre-order this because I think I'm gonna be able to get her for a discount. One of the things, though, with this suit, right, it's not a different panel. If you've looked at the, Daredevil that got released from She-Hulk, where everything is kind of just drawn on or printed on, that's pretty much what you're getting here. Yeah, you are getting some panel elements right around the arm in particular, but the suit itself, these are just extra add-on pieces. Posability looks fine. Um, the sculpt, not their best, also not their worst. I do see some likeness um, to Evangeline Lilly. What's interesting is that's the only picture of the unmasked sculpt at this point. So I'm not gonna say that Hot Wheels trying to hide something, but it just there's no love, to this release, right? This is kinda like, here it is. You see so much more attention paid to other figures, and I guess this is just when they're looking to push out at this point in time. So, um, look, I'm excited to get it. I think it looks good. I don't think this is gonna be a hot seller for Hot Toys because of how the movie performed. I liked the movie. I think I'm one of the only people that did. I like the tone of it. I know a lot of people didn't, so no, this isn't meant to start a pick a fight or say you're wrong, because you're not, right? We're all entitled to think what we want. Um, but I think that's definitely gonna affect the sales for this figure and for Ant-Man as well. For me, definitely interested in getting it. I do regret that we're not gonna get the Cassie Lang because they had teased that, especially with this Rock outcropping, you're gonna be able to get this, you were gonna get Wasp with Ant-Man, and then you were gonna get, um, the Cassie Lang as well, a miniature Cassie Lang with her figure. That figure never launched, and I wouldn't say that Never, but I just don't think Hot Toys is gonna go back to this. And they even teased, MODOK, which I told you guys I love that prototype. I thought that was great. It was hilarious, little legs and the giant head that looked completely awkward. I would have gotten that figure in a heartbeat because when else are we gonna get a MODOK in a cinematic version, right? But I probably would have been the only one. That would have been a project I can imagine seeing them cancel at some point. Um, but that was not moving forward either, I'm sure. So they did drop the figure, but again, it was one of those releases that didn't have much care to it, right? Or it didn't feel like it had much care to it. But some signs of life, I guess. Now, before we get into the news with Inart and everything, I'm gonna tell you my second most exciting. So obviously I'm excited about the Hot Toys releases, right? They look amazing. And of those figures, Doctor Doom is at the top. Next up, you'd be surprised because you would think it's the Amazing Spider-Man or that Predator, but it's not. It's this Vault Girl from, what is it? Giant Exhibition Toys. Now, my understanding is that this is, Daft Toys. Daft Toys rebranded, right? So, I did have kind of a questionable experience with Daft Toys and their Killmonger. I had a lot of issues with that figure. Looks good, and for the price point, it wasn't bad, but even I have some standards, right, when it comes to third party. They're not maybe biggest, but there are some standards here and there. So, Vault Girl, if you've watched Fallout, right, she's basically, Lucy from Fallout, the TV show on Amazon Prime, which is an amazing show, and since it's being done by Bethesda, the makers of the video game, it's really a tangential story. It doesn't try to what made that show successful, I think, and what made people very receptive to it is the designs are straight from the video game, right? Their designs didn't change. This is its own story, so it's not like, um, maybe there's some crossover to a degree, but it's not like the creators decided to redo the entire Fallout line and storyline and do something that completely messed up whatever other stories are going on at the same period from the video games, right? So I appreciated that, and I think that's why the show is so successful. And even the suit is something that we've seen similar, right? So uh, I did order the 3-0 Survivor, Vault Survivor. Um, a much cleaner suit, right? Different armor, and I am getting the T60 armor as well, which we saw in the show and we've seen in the video games. But the fact that they're making Lucy, I already ordered this figure. Look, not the best sculpt. Just go into that expecting with third parties there could be a potential downgrade. Um, again, it's just who else is gonna make these figures, right? If 3-0 makes it, I'm gonna get a licensed version of her as well, but for now, this is the only kind of version of her. I like the fact that they're giving us the equipment from the show when she leaves the vault, right? You're getting the Pip-Boy, you're getting the tranquilizer gun. Her suit looks weathered from being in the wasteland for a long period of time. The backpack with the Vault 33, it's just surprisingly a decent figure, right? I'm not gonna say that the sculpt is gonna win any awards. I do think this is funny that you're getting the scientist head. First of all, let me see if I can get a picture of that head because it's a little funny. Um, I don't even know if does it even look like him? I don't think there's a likeness to, to the actor, and the hair, he didn't have hair like this, right? Watch the show, he has a pretty much the actor's been in a lot of things, right, but he has a pretty short haircut. So this is I don't know what they did. Maybe this is something where I'll grab a scissor and cut it down, right? And also look at the body, right? So just be warned, um, exposed joints, right? You can see those. So if you're not a joint fan, right, that's not necessarily gonna be the way you're gonna wanna display this figure. But if you wanna display her with the jacket, which is how I'd wanna display her, um, you hide most of those joints, which is fine. But if you do get to those kind of, tank top looks, there is that just be prepared for that, right? And it does look plasticky, right? With third party, you're not gonna get necessarily with this kind of third party, you're not gonna get seamless arms, you're not gonna get any of that, so just beware. I like the fact that, again, we're getting her. My intention is to have the jacket with the 33 shown, and the kit. I don't think I'm gonna use a head. It's great for the show, definitely belongs, but it looks bizarre. Maybe I'll tweak it a little bit, um, and have it on the display, but I'm very excited to get this, and hopefully, this is a sign of more to come, because the other character from the show, without a doubt, would be the played by, and again, I'm having a little mental moment, um, or mental, forgetfulness moment, but, that was the other highlight character for me. He looks basically like, Red Skull to a degree, right? With the exposed nose and kinda just looking like a zombie, which kind of is. So I'm looking forward to getting that cowboy to go along with her. And then since I already ordered the other Fallout figures, I think they're gonna go well together. Um, are there any other characters from the show that I can see them making? Um, maybe, maybe obviously Maximus would be the only other one, from the Brotherhood. Um But it would be them, the 3 of them. I think you could definitely go deeper in the line, but, if you want an armored suit, ThreeZero is already doing great armored suits for that. I think ThreeZero is gonna release some other, figures from the line. So, um, I don't see this going too deep, but I do hope they go just a little bit further, because there are other characters that I would love to get. But this was, without a doubt, my 2nd most exciting announcement of the um So yeah, third party. They've been silent, eerily silent, no Marvel third party for a little bit, but we're definitely getting some stuff. So, um, what else? Um, I was gonna go over, you know what? Let me see if I can find her, because I was gonna skip this one, but Exo 6 did release another pre-order. And hold on, let me screen share. You can search with me as we go. Let's go to Sideshow site and let's do Exo 6. So Exo 6 continues to release figures, right? They've released a good amount, right? You can see, like, I have, passed on Jordy for the moment, I passed on Odo. I picked up Pike, who's great, Admiral Picard, I loved, Data too, Beverly Crusher's up for pre-order, Head so the one that just came up is Ensign, Sato from, Star Trek Enterprise. I like that show. I didn't think it was my favorite, but it was okay. Um, It's the 2nd, I think we got Captain Archer, and no, we got this the 3rd, we got T'Pol as well. Um, so they're continuing down the line, right? Kudos to Exo 6 for going so deep in these lines that, frankly, nobody else is gonna touch, and like I said, there I know some people are itching for the Wrath of Khan line, I am too, the original series, um, and they want the main characters, right? People want McCoy, people want, Spock, and people want, Kirk. Right? Those are the characters people want. Um, and sometimes I see the frustration when Exo 6 is releasing some of these secondary or tertiary characters that people don't necessarily aren't really crazy about. But nobody else is gonna make it, and if there's a method to the madness, I'd rather have Exo 6 continue to do what they're doing and get us those figures eventually, and if we have to basically get a couple of these at this point, so be it, right? This is not a line I'm gonna get into. Um, just there's so much else coming in from Hot Toys that I can't be a completist with Exorcist, right? But there are figures that I'm waiting for, particularly from Picard Season 3. So I'm looking forward to those, and then there's I'll be doing the Kelvin time. The reason I wanna bring this one up is the sculpt doesn't look that great. Well, let's be honest. I think the jumper looks okay. The zipper a little lacks some of the finesse we've seen with some of these other companies, which is fine, but the suit looks great, right? It has the patches, it has the relevant information, it has the rank insignia, the trim that identifies your specialty. All that is fine. It's just the sculpt, right? And this is where Exo 6 gets me, because we just looked at the Spock and the Pike from Strange New Worlds. We got a great Data. I think we got a decent Geordi LaForge. uh, card looks great, right? The card season 3 figures look good. And then you get these, and it's almost like I get it. Not every figure necessarily for the price point either can maybe get this attention to detail. And what's the cost of this? 215. So if you get it direct from Exo 6, look, it's not quite getting into that Hot Toys threshold. It's more in line with the party, so I would kind of accept that the sculpt isn't the best, but frankly, that's my issue with Exo 6. It's you get some figures that are just amazing, and then you get some figures that are a little bit questionable, and I definitely feel like that one is a little bit questionable, unfortunately, right? Not to say it's terrible, and if you're a fan of the show, this is probably gonna be your only opportunity to get that character. And that's where it gets you, right? That's where the collecting gets a little wacky, because even I'm guilty of that, where it's just like you have to think, do I really want that character in the collection? And if I do want her or any character in general, but the figure is a little subpar, is it worth picking up? Especially in a market for 6 scale figures that's extremely crowded at this point in time. So it's just something worth thinking about, that I think a lot of us as collectors deal with. Um, I know it's something that I'm consistently looking at, especially with all the releases. It's like I'd love to get everything, but I just can't. So Exo 6 continuing down the line, I think, their Commander Kroog from, Search for Spock is releasing soon. That one's gonna be a very interesting figure because that is pushing 300 mark. So that is a Hot Toys price. So just before we jump into the last bit of the news, when I collect, I've learned to measure my expectations, and the expectations are aligned with the price point. So if I'm paying a certain amount of dollars, so let's start with Hot Toys in the 250 to actually they're 270 to $300. That's the Hot Toys range. So anything in that price range is gonna get compared to a Hot Toys figure. It just is. Um, and if it doesn't deliver, that's gonna be a disappointment. Anything in the $200 range is probably gonna be compared more to 3-0 at this point. And 3-0, we've seen them do the same thing. They have some absolute bangers, and then they have some figures that aren't that great. So that's the different threshold. And then you have the high-end threshold, which is great because 'cause we're gonna get into that right now, which I think is where companies like InArt are trying to establish themselves. J&D Kojin Works definitely pushing that envelope as well. None Kojin Works hasn't even released the figure yet, so they've released a couple pre-orders. I'm on one of them for the Harry Potter that they did the, Quidditch version. And for InArt, I've got currently 4 pre-orders. I've got the 3 Harry Potter figures. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they release from that. And I've got the Hall of Trade from Dune. So far, that's it. Um, I was slightly tempted to get into the Lord of the Rings line, which we're gonna discuss. I'm glad I didn't just because there's so much else coming out, and while I love those movies, I just you know, sometimes you have to draw a line in the sand. And I here's my thing, right? Um, that's 4 pre-orders I have with a company with no product at this point. So I'm taking a big leap of faith that, um, they're gonna deliver and that and I'm frankly concerned. The Harry Potter, every release that I've seen so far, or at least a lot of the videos that have gone up or a lot of the pictures on social media have seemed to indicate some quality, issues. So, when you're paying that much money for a figure like that, Harry Potter, it's a smaller figure, you're getting some accessories in the diorama, right, which is what brings it up a little bit. Um, when you're paying that much and you're getting something that's not of the best quality, that's gonna be something that's a little concerning. We'll see, right? I haven't got mine in hand. When I get mine in hand, hopefully, I'm looking forward to a good experience with the company because I am purchasing things from them. And I'll say I'm separating the company from the product to a degree, right? Or the practices of that company from the product, at least. So we'll see how those turn out. My biggest issue with them today, I don't care about influencers getting an earlier batch. The name of the game for us, if we've been in the 6 scale game for a while, is patience, right? You're eventually going to get your figure. 3-0, not sorry, 3-0. Toys Era has been delayed for years with some of their products. If you collect Limb Toys, it takes years for them to come out. So, you know, that's fine. My Only issue is they've gotta fix this kind of distribution mismatch system, because I think it's getting concerning or getting annoying when you see the influencer batches continue to go out. So you see the influencer batch for Aragorn, for Harry Potter, now for Superman, um, go out, and people are still waiting for the Batman. So it's like, I get it, no issue. You want to continue to do that. That's fine. I don't think that's going to change how people order your product, but just get the product in people's hands. And that's the issue. It's like you're showcasing all these releases and you're patting yourselves on the back, saying we made it, we released it for the time frame that we had originally wanted. Um, but are you really? If people are still waiting for it 6 months later, so we'll see. I think Harry Potter, the hit posted, I think maybe the first batch came out. So I'm in the end. I'm in the tail end of that, so it'll be a while before I get my Patience is the name of the game, but we'll see, right? But that's my small little, not rant, but just thought on them. But we do have to talk about Inart a little bit because they've been going through a couple of things, right? I really do feel like, um, from the moment Hot Toys announced the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix Joker, they've been a little bit on their heels because they kept going out and saying $1,000 minimum price point, and then Hot Toys shows up with a $300 product. Um, that's pretty decent, let's be honest. So that, I think the whole batch system, the quality control issues that are coming up, I don't want the company to fail, right? I have products ordered from them, right? I want them to succeed because I want to continue to get those products, specifically those characters that nobody else is making. So I hope nothing but the best for them. I just want them to improve what they're doing at this point. And it all comes down to price point, right? And they talk about transparency. It's like, listen, I don't care about your transparency at this point. Just, sorry, not even price point. Just release the figures that you're supposed to, right, and fix that situation so that you're not in the current position you're in. I still think people like the products, but people are still starting to question the company a little bit. Having said that, they're supposed to show up this winter festival, which I think starts on the 2nd as well, or it definitely starts this month in October. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to tease. We saw teases last year that haven't even made it out, right? The From Harry Potter, we saw the Professor Dumbledore. That looks really great. We saw a Superman 2 pack from the Christopher Reeves version that needed a little bit of work. So we saw some releases. I'm hoping we see more, right? But we'll see. This is definitely one that I think people saw at San Diego Comic Con. It's the Nazgul, the Ring Wraith, with the horse. I don't even want to talk about what the price point on that is. The DID horse was about $200 with the figure, and DID being not terribly expensive. We'll see what the price point is. We'll discuss the pictures next week, but they're definitely going in with this one. This was expected. It was teased. What wasn't expected, although I think that one is definitely exciting, is especially if you've gotten the Gandalf and the Aragorn, is Legolas. They're finally teasing the Legolas from Lord of the Rings. Um, First impression, again with one picture, sculpt looks pretty solid. It looks like it's sculpted hair and then rooted to a degree to create that kind of tight frame. I'm curious about the look. Um, I think when I think Legolas, I think the armored look from the Battle of Helm's Deep in Two Towers, but I think it looks good. I'm curious for the full reveal pics to see what he comes with because, um, look, the Aragorn was phenomenal from a prototype perspective. I don't know in hand. I'm looking forward to seeing some other reviews, but um, curious. So we'll see. We'll talk about this next week. We'll see what Inart is doing, but they're definitely teasing this one. So both of them are going up for pre-order on the 2nd, which is Wednesday. Wednesday, which I think is timed to coincide with this winter festival thing. And then the last thing, last bit of news story. It's been all over the groups and everything for a while, and Jazz Inc. has been teasing this forever. Excuse me, just need a little drink. But the Catwoman is finally going up for pre-order on October 17th. I'm curious. I'm gonna look at what the what he has to offer. Price point is really gonna be interesting for me because I think I just wanna see what the price point is gonna be for this. I'm gonna knock this, right? I haven't seen the full reveal pictures. I think the preview pictures look good. They look pretty solid. I know there are some issues that people have already called out. Let's see what he's offering, right? So on October 17th, we'll be back and we'll take a look at what the full set looks at. And more importantly, I'm very curious to see what the price point is because I have a feeling, especially in the US, if you can't get these direct, which you can't, right? You have to go through a 6 kit or apparently Spec Fiction. Um, I have a feeling the price point is going to be much more than at least it is from going direct to the Jazz site, which it is what it is, right? That's what happens within art. What happens with some third party companies, right? So just curious where that's going. Um, but yeah, like I said, super busy week. Very exciting too. I really do feel like was Hot Toys trying to send a message? No, I'm not gonna go into that conspiracy thing. But I think for the fans, they're kind of telling you, I don't know that this is a one off. I think they're kind of giving you an indication. Look, be prepared. Anything can come your way. The fact that they're going back to the Amazing Spider-Man Andrew Garfield brings to question other things that we hadn't seen. Like, can they eventually release the Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming? I wouldn't be surprised if they did at this point, right? Could they revisit other lines? They revisited Terminator. Could they go back to the Aliens line and give us the Alien Marines? I don't know. Maybe there's not that much interest, but I think the door is wide open for them at this point. So, look, very exciting time again to be a collector. Um, for the channel next week, I should have the review for the sorry, for the Grand Admiral Thrawn, and I finally got She-Hulk in from Hot Toys after Sideshow delayed her for a while. So finally got her in. So look for those reviews to be coming in. And again, thank you for watching. I know this went long, but there was a lot to cover. But if you're enjoying the content, please consider dropping a like, the usual. And we'll touch base on the next video. So take care and good night.